Gratitude by Lauren O'Donoghue. Wednesday, 22nd November. Today I am grateful for daytime repeats of Homes Under the Hammer. Quiet day. Was supposed to be working from home, but I don't think Ruth's expecting me to do much right now. Checked my email a grand total of 3 times, then fell asleep on the sofa. Got woken up by Cabbage digging his claws into my right tit. Alex brought me dinner after work. Only leftovers, but it was sweet of her. She thinks that I'm not eating properly, which, to be fair, I'm not. I was worried that she'd want to stop over, but she told me she had an early shift and couldn't stay. I don't know whether that was true or if she was just being tactful. Either way, it was a relief. Tried to sort my clothes out before I went to bed. The iron had been languishing in the cupboard for years, probably since the last time I had to dress smart. Danny's wedding, maybe? There was about an inch of dust on it, and the edge of the metal was brown with rust. I almost burned a hole through my one good skirt, then gave it up as a waste of time. Put everything on hangers instead, hoping the creases will fall out overnight. Funeral tomorrow. Thursday, 23rd November. Today I am grateful for Auntie Linda's bottomless supply of Benson and Hedges. Well, that's done. I got back from the wake half an hour ago. It's funny, really, all the stress of sorting this out, all the paperwork and money and phone calls, and then the whole thing felt like it lasted about 5 minutes. I'm worried it didn't do him justice. At least it didn't rain during the ceremony, though it was threatening to all day. Someone had erected a gazebo over the empty grave just in case. Whose job is that? Not the celebrant, surely. He was a nice bloke, much younger than I was expecting after speaking to him on the phone. I'd been picturing him middle-aged with greying hair and kind, wise eyes. Someone who'd seen enough death to handle it with confidence. Still, it was a nice service. The eulogy was brief. Words about Dad's work, his passion for music, the way he'd cared for Mum and for me. Uncle Jim read a poem that he'd printed out from the internet, his big hands trembling as he tripped over the meter. I'd been dreading my turn to speak, but when it was time, I found that the words came easily. Dad was, a good man. It wasn't hard to think of nice things to say about him. Auntie Linda cried and hugged me afterwards, whispering in my ear that he would have been proud. Is that true? I hope it's true. None of it felt quite real while it was happening. I kept looking at the coffin with its brass handles and wreath of white roses and thinking to myself, surely Dad's not in there. What would he be doing in there? He never could sit still for more than 5 minutes. If death really is endless rest, he's going to bloody hate it. At least he's buried next to Mum. After her final scan, they brought 3 plots in Gorton Cemetery, 1 for each of us, all backing onto the ditch that runs through the graveyard. The little brick-lined watercourse cuts across the turf in a long, straight line, its depth changing with the weather. When I was small and we came to put flowers on Mum's grave, Dad and I would pretend it was a river for fairies. We made boats out of beech leaves and acorn cups, sent them bobbing into the current. A few years later, he told me another story about the ditch, an old one, that it was built in a single night, each man in Manchester digging a section as high as he was tall, protecting their land from Viking invaders. The last time we went to the cemetery, he told me something different again, this time about earthworks and boundary walls. I ignored him on purpose, wanting to preserve the fairies and Vikings of my childhood. I wish I'd listened now. At the end, when the coffin had been lowered into the grave, the celebrant invited each of us to throw a handful of dirt in after it. I gripped mine too tight, squeezing the earth to a dark, damp ball inside my fist. It hit the wood of the coffin with a thunk when I dropped it. My nails on that hand are still filthy. Alex texted about 11. Said she would have called earlier, but she had a late shift. I didn't reply. I'll message her back tomorrow. Saturday, 25th November. Today I am grateful for nothing much. I just want to talk to him, that's all. Just once, knowing it's the last time. At least with Mum there was warning. I was prepared for it, he prepared me for it. This time he's just gone. Buried in the ground. I can't get my head around that. I can't get it straight in my mind. Monday, 27th November. Today I am grateful for My extremely patient and thoughtful girlfriend who is going to stop reading over my shoulder now because this is private. Alex showed up this morning with coffee and breakfast. I've not been responding to messages for a few days and she was worried about me. We ate Danish pastries in my unmade bed, spilling icing sugar and crumbs all over my duvet, and afterwards Alex changed my sheets while I showered. I could have cried at that, but I think I've forgotten how. If I cry, it'll all be real, and so I don't. Cabbage must have slipped out this afternoon, though I checked all the windows and none of them were unlocked. The little shit tracked dirt all across the cream hallway carpet. Luckily it hoovered up all right, else the landlord would have gone to spare. The world's worst cat lives to see another day. Tuesday, 28th November. Today I am grateful for Radox herbal therapy. Slept horribly. When I woke up in the morning, Alex wasn't there. Apparently I'd been moaning and thrashing about all night, and she went to sleep on the sofa instead. I wish I could remember what I'd dreamt about, but I can't bring anything clear to mind. Just a terrible ache across my shoulders and a smell like rotting leaves. Before Alex left for work, she examined my fingernails closely, then suggested that I take a long hot bath. I did as she said, soaking myself until the water went tepid and my fingertips were puckered as raisins, but those crescents of earth still haven't shifted. Not even really sure what I did for the rest of the day. Watched Escape to the Country, ate some toast. Fed Cabbage when he started shrieking at me, nursing my guilt for forgetting in the first place. Once I picked up my phone to text Dad, then remembered. It felt like falling from a great height. Wednesday, 29th November. Today I am grateful for white vinegar and bicarb. I love Cabbage dearly, idiot that he is, but he's going right back to the rescue centre if he pulls this Harry Houdini shit again. This time there were clumps of mud all over the house, in the bath, on the kitchen countertop, even smeared across my pillow. How he managed to track in that much dirt is beyond me. The little bugger looks clean as a whistle. Cleaning it up kept me occupied for a while, at least. Before the funeral, people kept telling me how important it was to keep busy. It's a stupid platitude, but I suppose there could be some truth in it. Now that I think about it, I seem to remember Dad doing a lot of cleaning after Mum passed away. The house was always spotless. He kept it up right until he died, or so I thought. When I went over to pack up his things, I found hidden pockets of rubbish everywhere, tucked away out of sight like he was ashamed of it. Drawers full of unopened letters, musty sheets stuffed in the back of the wardrobe, flat-pack furniture abandoned, half-assembled under the stairs. I think he was struggling more than I... You know what? No. There's nothing I could have done. That's what the doctor said. Nothing anyone could have done. So there's no point in me crying about it, is there? No point at all. Friday, 1st December. Today I am grateful for having company. There was someone in the flat last night. A house with people in it feels different to an empty one. It hums on a different frequency. The air inside it has currents that move. When I woke in the early hours of this morning, my eyes hot and bleary, I knew immediately that there was someone in another room. There was no sound to tip me off, no footsteps or creaking floorboards, but I knew. At first I thought that Alex had come over and let herself in, but Alex doesn't have a key yet. I suppose I should have been frightened when I remembered that, but I wasn't. Instead, I lay there in the dark for a long time, oddly comforted by the knowledge that, somewhere nearby, someone else was still and quiet too. Eventually, I must have drifted back to sleep, because when I opened my eyes again, it was light outside. I was almost relieved to find the muddy footprints on the kitchen lino. They reassured me that I hadn't been imagining things. I squatted down next to them and pinched a clump of mud between my thumb and forefinger. It was dark and damp and rich, like compost. I suppose I owe Cabbage an apology. I checked, but nothing was missing from the house. My purse was where I'd left it on the coffee table, unopened, and my few nice pieces of jewellery still hung from the hook next to the bathroom mirror. My visitor had touched nothing, taken nothing. They must have come here simply to keep me company. The thought of that made me feel better than I had for days. I didn't tell Alex any of this when she rang me on her lunch break. She'd want me to call the police, probably. If I told her the truth, I don't think she'd understand. Monday, 4th December. Today I am grateful for lovely Ruth. I was supposed to be starting back at work today. I even went into the office for a bit, though it proved to be a pointless exercise. The bus was packed, reeking of damp coats and commuter breath, and I felt nauseous by the time I reached my stop. As usual, the lift in the building's foyer was out of order. I walked the 5 flights of stairs, sweat sticking my shirt to the small of my back. The concrete stairwell, with its ever-present smell of piss, echoed my footsteps back to me. My desk was just how I'd left it. Plastic tidy full of pens and paper clips, keyboard in need of a clean, post-it notes surrounding the monitor. A photo of me and Alex, smiling at a restaurant in Mykonos, was pinned to the padded divider. I looked tanned and happy, like a stranger. I took the photo down and shut it in a drawer. One by one, my colleagues came over to welcome me back. They offered condolences and cups of tea and patted me on the shoulder. Everyone was very polite, but it was obvious that they didn't have a clue what to say to me. People think that death is catching, don't they? Ruth came to see me about 11. I was staring blankly at my Teams page, having not quite mustered the energy to log in yet. She told me to take another week, and that she'd put it down as remote working since I'm out of compassionate leave. I like Ruth. She dyes her curly hair a reddish purple and swears profusely in staff meetings. She looked like she wanted to give me a hug but couldn't decide if it would be appropriate. I wanted her to, but didn't know how to ask. On the way home, I wondered what it would feel like to be held against the pillowy softness of her body, to breathe in the perfume of her laundry detergent. It was a Freudian sort of daydream, half maternal, half erotic, and I was embarrassed by it. As soon as I opened my front door, I knew that my visitor had been again. Before I even saw the mud, I knew. There was a mound of it this time, the size and shape of a molehill, in the middle of one of the sofa cushions. I knelt down on the floor to examine it more closely. Damp soil, loosely packed and riddled with dandelion roots. A single earthworm writhing pinkly atop the pile. I pressed my fingers into the cool mud, feeling the worm twist and contract. The visitor had chucked cabbage in the bathroom. He was yowling and scratching at the door. When I opened it to let him out, he bristled at me, then darted into the bedroom. My fingers left dirty smears on the handle. Alex called later. I let it ring out, unable to imagine what I would say to her. Tuesday, 5th December. Today I am grateful for the clouds. I woke up needing to be close to him. Before today I had no desire to go back. Quite the opposite, in fact. I was dreading it. But this morning something was different. I slept on the sofa last night, one arm cupped around my visitor's leavings, and my dreams are softer than they've been for weeks. The earthworm had wriggled free of the dirt and hauled itself across the cushions, where it nosed blindly at my cheek. I picked it up and pushed it between my lips, chewed, swallowed. It was cold and slipped down easily, though the grip that clung to it got stuck between my teeth. It was raining, and the cemetery was empty. The flowers on Dad's grave were beginning to rot, liquefying inside their cellophane. I tipped the sweet mulch onto the soil and pressed it in deep. His headstone is a match for Mum's, but her plot is smooth with daisy-studded grass. She's had 2 decades to assimilate. He'll still be raw and whole beneath the fresh-turned soil, but both are seeping into the unmarked space between them. They are joining in the groundwater, soaking into porous stone and the roots of trees. The earth is not still, and the empty space they flank is most restless of all. I got home to find Alex waiting on my front step. She was angry or scared, and we argued for a long time. She kept insisting that I'm not well, and she wouldn't listen when I told her I was fine and better than fine. It was cold on the street, winter making itself known in the bite of the wind. Alex was shivering, but I refused to let her in when she asked. The gift on the sofa is a private thing. I couldn't risk her disturbing it. Eventually she left, her coat pulled close around her as she walked towards the bus stop. I thought that she might have been crying. I felt regret then, though not much, and not for very long. Friday, 8th December. Today I am grateful for being wanted. There have been more gifts, 3 of them, 1 left each night. A dull grey stone in the kitchen sink, a shard of pottery on the toilet cistern, the vacant shell of a garden snail inside my shoe, each one nestled in a soft bed of soil. Dark footprints stain the carpet, and I do not bother to clean them. They trail through the flat, paths crossing and doubling back on themselves. More than 1 set, I notice. My visitors are now in plural. I think I am being courted for something. These gifts, I'm sure, are a prelude. Impatient for the next overture, I sleep as often as I can. Wednesday, 13th December. Today I am grateful for a second chance. I suppose this is a goodbye. I'm going to the ditch tonight. In a way, I've been heading there for a long time. That plot of land was marked out for me years ago. But it's fallow now, gentle with grass and dandelions. It needs to be tilled, needs digging up to bear the black loam beneath. Alex, if this makes its way to you, I'm sorry. I think deep down we both knew you'd leave me, in the end. Perhaps it's better this way. They have come for me now. Mum and Dad and the others too, all those shades who have toiled through the ages. I hear them pounding at my bedroom door. Each knock lands with a dull, damp thunk. The cat seethes in a corner, hissing like a gas leak. They're summoning me down there, back to the place where the earth cleaves in two. Every pair of hands is needed. A pit as tall as I am high, shovelled out with pick and spade and clawed fingers. One night's work to save a life, to save all our lives. By morning it will be over. Sparrows will pluck worms from the soil, like ravens tugging entrails from the dead. They don't call it Goretown for nothing. The warmth of decay will drift upwards, turning to mist that hugs the land close. We'll count ourselves finished then. When the winter sun rises over the boundary line, I'll be at peace. I'll find some rest. I will be grateful.
Ghosts at the Old Library, a series of 6 short stories by local writers Marie Crook, Nicholas Royal, Gaynor Jones, Deanna Shepherd, Lauren O'Donoghue and Joe Howard, produced by Levenshulme Old Library and ALLFM, music by Oscilloscope, made possible with funding from the Arts Council, and creative director Richard Hirst.